Hello, everyone. Coach Carole here with you with day 3 of the Personal Genealogy Network Challenge. And today is all about social media, in particular, Twitter. And I have a real Twitter fan with me in the studio tonight, Natalie Pivers. Hi, Natalie. How are you?
Hi there, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you. I've been really excited this week with how the challenge is going and the growth in the community. And the next 3 of these live casts are focused on social media. And I'm very happy to have you with me tonight. And tomorrow night, I'll have Jean Marie Pearson, the simple living genealogist.
Oh, lovely, wonderful. Yeah.
Yes. And your handle in Twitter is?
It's genealogy stories, so you'll be able to find me there.
Excellent. All right. So let me just launch into a little bit of an introduction about why social media is an important part of your personal genealogy network. You'll find genealogists abound. Can you say there are a plethora of genealogists? I think you probably can. There's groups, there's communities, there's streams, there's individuals, there's companies, there's societies, and all of these have some form of presence online in social media. Now, of course, we've got our big ones like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and there are many others. I've only recently been looking closely to Pinterest, for example, and getting to know how they operate. So, in tonight's or today's, depending on where you are, in this live cast, we'll focus in on some of the important questions about how to operate within a social media tool like Twitter and how to get in touch with those genealogists that you want to add to your PGN. So, my favorite social media at the moment is Facebook, but I'm now learning more and more about how Twitter is more helpful for me in the number of posts that I can find from people in genealogy. Is that what drew you to Twitter in the first place?
Yeah, I think so. I think the biggest draw for me with Twitter is it's so quick. So it's very quick to grow. Whereas Facebook to me seems slower. You know, you can post something in Facebook and you can post every day and not get any responses on any of them. So sorry, my computer's just popped up with a reminder. Let me just get rid of that so I can actually see you. Yeah. So Twitter's a lot. It's much more fast moving. And I actually. When I first joined, I discovered Twitter chats. So, for anybody who doesn't know what a Twitter chat is, it's a kind of hour where people talk about a subject. Sometimes it's run by one account, sometimes it's run by multiple accounts, and everybody uses the same hashtag. So I quite often take part in the Twitter chat Ancestry Hour, which is on a Tuesday at 7 p.m. UK time, and everybody just talks about genealogy, what they've been doing, asks each other questions, and uses that hashtag. Follow the hashtag and jump in on conversations, and it is like kind of being in a room. It's really fast moving, so
Yes,
that's what
but
I like about it.
all in text. And I was recently alerted or reminded of Ancestry Hour and how I might try to be part of it or at least watch what happened during it after the event because it's at a time that probably won't be conducive to my time zone.
Yeah,
So hashtag Ancestry Hour is definitely one to look for, especially if
yeah.
you are in Britain.
If you're in the US, hashtag Gen Chat, so GEN chat. Um, I can't remember. I think that's monthly, and that's a little bit more structured, where they have set questions for people to reply and comment on. But that I think that's run from the US, so it might be a bit more friendly
Excellent.
time zone wise for some people.
All right, well, we'll definitely add hashtag Gen Chat to our PGN. We're talking in acronyms. All right, so with the Twitter communication that you do for the main part, um, how has it helped you with your challenges and campaigns? Because you're a very busy woman out there. me
Yeah.
about that.
Well, in terms of running my own challenges, so most of my audience, so most of my followers are on Twitter. So I know that when I shout out about something that I'm doing, like Reclaim Jane, I know that people are going to see it and follow and take part. And nobody wants to be sat there running the challenge on their own. So so that's absolutely wonderful that it kind of lets you kind of get that reach. And other people will comment, and sometimes they'll suggest things as well, which will be really helpful. And you'll think, oh, actually, yeah, I hadn't considered that. I need to add that element, or I need to change this little bit, whatever.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's been fantastic for that. Um, it's a real community, Twitter.
absolutely. It's a huge community.
Yeah.
And I was remiss, I didn't let our viewers know where you were located. So you might like to do that.
Yeah, so I'm in Somerset in England. So in the south of England, I live quite near the coast on the border of Dorset. So I'm in what I think is one of the most beautiful places in the whole of England. I'm very
Of
lucky.
course. Well, it's your centre of the universe, and I in mine down here in lovely Victoria, Australia. Twitter for me has opened my eyes to many different facets that I wasn't aware of before. And I thought that perhaps our network challenges might have thought the same thing. So when we delve deeper into Twitter, there are some things that are a little bit strange still to me. So I might ask you about those. But if there was someone viewing this and they hadn't yet started in Twitter, what do they do?
Okay, yeah. So the first thing to do is to hop over and create an account, give yourself a name. And then the next thing to do, once you've got your name sorted, is to go into the search bar and just search for keywords. So search for genealogy, search for Ancestry Hour. Um, on Twitter, people use hashtags, and you can think of that as like an indexing tool. So when people are using that hashtag, they're almost like adding their tweet to an index entry. So when you search for Ancestry Hour, you'll see all the different people that have been tweeting using exactly the same hashtag. So you could try hashtag family history, and you'd make it one word. So it'd be hashtag family history, one word. And you can try searching for the hashtag. And then when you find a tweet that you like, that you read and you think, oh, that was really useful, you can click on the person that tweeted the message, and you can follow them. And that means that their tweets in the future will turn up in your timeline. On Twitter, there's also lists. So other people, like for example, myself, have got lists. I've got lists of different types of historians, and sometimes if you find a person that you like, you can click on them and see whether they have any lists where you might also follow their list. You can also look at who they're following and who's following them, and go and check out their tweets and their profile and their timeline, and that way kind of slowly build up the people that you're following. It's really quick and easy to do. I think Twitter, when you first start using it, can be a little bit confusing, especially if you just kind of look at your timeline, because there's all these kind of like random, very, very short 240 character messages. I think looking at a hashtag is probably the best way to start.
Excellent. Thanks for that. I've been busy making notes as you're speaking and adding that so that we've got that uh, showing on the screen.
Yeah.
And this was a bunch of words that you used that were more or less the Twitter terms that we need to be aware of. And I know there's more. You mentioned the chats earlier. There is also community, which is a new thing.
Yeah, so this is brand new. So Twitter's releasing new things all the time. Earlier this year, it released Twitter Spaces, which are like audio rooms. So you can host a space where you're basically saying, "Hey, I'm going to come and talk about such and such, and if you want to join me, you can come along too." And people can hop into your space and hear you talk, and you can ask other people to speak as well, or you can visit other people's spaces and go and listen to them. And it's audio only, camera off. So that's quite nice. They're still kind of, I think, in the genealogy community, they're kind of not fully caught on yet, but I think that's something that will happen over time as people get their heads around how it works. So that launched earlier this year, and now Twitter, just in the last few months, has launched communities. So these are spaces where you can join a community, and the tweets that you write within that kind of community space are only seen by the people that are also part of that community. So that means that if you're on Twitter and you have a variety of interests, so say you were interested in family history, but you also are really interested in painting, and you're following lots and lots of tweets about painting, and you like the news as well, so you follow some news and you follow some celebrities that you like, and you kind of have this kind of mixed time field that's all about lots of different interests. I guess the idea behind it is that your timeline, as kind of say when you first go on Twitter and view everything, might be a whole mix of different subjects. But when you want to narrow down and only see things about a specific topic, you can jump into that community, and you can have closed communities and open communities. So a little bit like Facebook groups. It is still really, really new. I haven't fully wrapped my head around it yet, and what the pros and cons. And one thing I'd be conscious of saying is sometimes Twitter tries things out and they don't catch on. So, for example, like all social media does it. So, for example, a little while ago, you had fleets, so you could you would a bit like Facebook and Instagram stories. So you could tweet, and you could kind of pin that tweet into like a kind of collection that were in a slightly different format, and it was viewable underneath your profile page, and it was trying to emulate like Instagram stories, and it never really caught on. So eventually they just took it off and took it away and said, you know what, we tried this and actually it wasn't really serving our community very much, so we took it away. I think communities, this new feature communities, I have a feeling that it might evolve over time, because at the moment I forget to pop onto my communities tab to see what my community's doing, because actually everybody who's joined my community is probably following me on the main timeline anyway. So I think that I've got a feeling they might end up kind of promoting different elements to it and evolving it over time. So I think it's definitely one to watch, because I think it could be quite interesting.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Tried
Sorry,
to
that was
get
a really
into
long answer.
Well, thank you for that. Communities are just not showing up for me on any of my devices, and I've, updated my Twitter account and all that. So I'm not sure what's happening there, but looking forward to being able to when they tweak it. So communities and spaces, and what I really like is how we can create a thread within our Twitter conversations by just using the reply, and also in using retweet. So there are some other words there that people need to know about when you're in the Twitter
Yeah.
community. So how would you recommend, let's say there's a person who has just got a Twitter account and they're looking for genealogists, where would they find them and how do they communicate?
Yeah. So they can find them by searching for that genealogy hashtag. And when you type in genealogy in the search box, you can view all the kind of latest tweets that mention that word. And then there's also you'll also see kind of along tabs people. So then you can go to the people tab and specifically look at what people are have genealogy perhaps in their Twitter handle, or which is your name, or have talked about genealogy, for example, and you can follow them. But there are various ways that you can engage with them. So if you see a tweet that you like, obviously you can hit reply, and you can reply with a comment on your own. So yay, I love that blog post. But perhaps a more noticeable way of replying would be to do what they call a quote retweet. So with Twitter, obviously the more times a tweet is shared or retweeted, the more people are likely to see it. But if you can just hit share, and it just kind of shares it without any comment, or you can click on the retweet button and select quote retweet, and that basically means that you're able to put a little comment above the thing that you're sharing. So if I'd seen a tweet from Carole that said, hey, I'm sharing this blog post, go check out this article on DNA or something, I could quote retweet and say, I really love this article, particularly this bit, this is what I found helpful. And the person whose work you've quote retweeted is much more likely to see that and to see your reply in their notifications. And not only that, you're adding your little bit of value on it, and people who are following you are going to find that more useful than you just blankly kind of blindly sharing things. So I think
Yeah.
if you can quote retweet, then that's always a good thing to do.
I agree. I've been trying to do that more often,
Yeah.
because I find that many of the links that I want to add to my PGN have come from retweeted posts. It's a hard word to say. So a few more pieces of language for the Twitter verse are on the screen now. And just moving on a little bit, when we participate, one of the things that we should be doing is following. So once you've found a genealogist or a group or a community or a space, then follow it. As you say, that's how you get more of the notifications coming into your stream.
Yeah.
So connecting with people in Twitter has been momentous for you. I'm looking at how much time that you now must spend on Twitter. Could you tell me a
Well,
little more?
I do spend quite a lot of time on there, I suppose, but because Twitter's so quick, you are literally just typing. You don't have to necessarily put an image up. Sometimes if I tweet something and I want it to have perhaps a little bit more emphasis or attention, I might pop into, like on when I'm tweeting, I'll pop onto the GIF button and kind of add a little GIF, a little kind of moving image to kind of highlight the tweet. But that takes seconds. So unlike something like Instagram or Facebook, where sometimes you have to kind of design an image, post it, perhaps create a longer post, almost like micro blog posts. I think that's why I love Twitter. So it looks like I'm on there a lot, but actually I might be just boiling the kettle and I've just popped onto my timeline and seen something that I like, and it's taken me approximately 30 seconds to fire out. And if I have a question, sometimes during the day something will pop into my head. So a local Facebook group of mine, like a local history group that I'm in, on our church there was a Latin inscription and it was really difficult to read, and nobody in the history group could read it. I couldn't read it. I don't read Latin, so I took the image with the person's permission and tweeted it, and I literally put, "Can anyone read this?" hashtag genealogy and hashtag Twitter historians, which is a hashtag that a lot of historians follow. And within a day I had the answer and the reply, and was able to share it back to the community, and so it's really quite incredible for that. But you do have to kind of build your followers and following a little bit before it works like that. What I should have said as well is, when you reply to somebody in your tweets, try and include a hashtag, because then your tweets are more likely to also get found and more people are likely to find you and follow you, and you're building your network that way as well. But yeah, no, I love Twitter.
That's brilliant. That's really good advice for those who are wanting to reach out to some more of our genealogy friends in Twitter. Go and have a look. And then when you come back to your own PGN, if you're building it in Trello and you're following the steps that I'm giving you, then it's an easy task really to add a card to Trello with the hashtag for the group that you've found, so that you know where to go back to. And the other thing that you've been mentioning is how speedy it is to be in Twitter. So you don't need a lot of time to do a lot of work in a very short space of time. Now, one of the things that you are doing recently came up in a tweet that I noticed the other day. Would you like to tell us about the hashtag History for Ukraine?
Yeah, so I think this is an example of Twitter at its absolute best. So on Sunday, I had a shower, and I always have my best ideas in the shower. And I got out of the shower, and I had this light bulb moment where I thought, what if we could get loads and loads of historians together to speak and run a 24-hour speaking event, bit like think Live Aid, but historians, and
Yeah.
all the money for, originally I was thinking tickets would go to the Red Cross or to some sort of charity for Ukraine. I tweeted the idea and basically said, would anyone be interested? And I, when I did my tweet, I used the @ sign to kind of tag people that I know that I'm following in, which is another trick that you can do. So you can tag people even if you're not following them or they're not following you. So I tagged in a couple of celebrity historians that I admire and follow, plus some people within my own network. And I think by midday, Dr. Janina Ramirez, who is a very eminent BBC historian here in the UK, had said that she would be involved. She has 100,000 followers on Twitter, so you can imagine that when she retweeted it, the kind of reach that it got. By Monday, I had Charles Spencer, the brother of Princess Diana, pop into my inbox on Twitter, at which point I almost fell off my chair. But so now it has evolved into a 24-hour event that we're doing. It's going to be live streamed across social media with kind of constant calls to go over to a Just Giving page and donate some money to the DEC and Red Cross to help people in Ukraine. And we're calling it #History4Ukraine, so you can go and find it easily. Yeah, it's just ballooned. I've now got working groups and subcommittees and 200 plus volunteers, and that was from Sunday morning. So I've got no work done over the last 2 days.
I can imagine what a whirlwind episode that has been, and more to come.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that you are doing this, and obviously many others across the world have seen the value in it. Yeah. All right, we're coming to the end of our time together. It's gone so fast. I wanted to remind people about the Facebook group for the challenge, and that will stay open. Don't forget to come in there and make your comments. And is there anything else you'd like to add today, Natalie, about Twitter?
Just really that Twitter, like any and all social media, is about it's about community. It's not about shout what I do and be a billboard. But obviously, it is a great place to share your own work. But to really kind of grow a following and to grow a community, you need to comment and share other people's work as well. And I think sometimes that's a mistake people make. They think, oh, I really want people to read my blog post. So they go on something like Twitter and they just start kind of, they just tweet about their own blog post, once a week whenever they release a blog post, go, hey, I've got a new blog post out, and then get a bit frustrated with the engagement. And I think that's quite a natural thing to do. But it's a bit of a mistake because people don't engage with sandwich boards, they engage with people. So
that's a really good tip.
Treat it like you would a coffee morning or a networking morning. You wouldn't go in there and just say, hi, me. You'd go in there and ask what other people are doing too.
Yeah, excellent. Well done. That's great advice. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today, Natalie. And if this session has inspired you to try Twitter, or perhaps to level up in Twitter when using all of those strategies that Natalie's mentioned, then do come and let us know in the Personal Genealogy Network community and leave a comment. We'll try and encourage people to leave a comment. So thank you once again, Natalie.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. And tomorrow's social media focus is on Facebook with Jean-Marie Pearson, and that is about the same time, a little half an hour earlier than we are tonight. So look for that in the network. Good luck with #History for Ukraine. I know it'll be a huge success.
Thank you. Thank you.